It's so absurd that today we are beginning UG Pulse on a sad note as Uganda joins Tanzania and the rest of the world to mourn a great leader in the names of John Pombe Magufuli. I know this is news for most of you that you could have actually gotten early morning, and of course it's believed that he passed on yesterday night. Other news from other angles coming in is saying he passed on late night. Others are saying he passed on last week. But how did this all begin? It began with a story from different angles that one of the world's presidents who was against COVID, that is actually how media houses actually branded it, has been admitted in Nairobi hospital. And of course, other people followed in, of course, to tweet, retweet, and share across different social media platforms. But Tanzania, of course, through the leadership of the Tanzanian government, came out to demystify the statement. But this could not last long. Yesterday, we saw what transpired and what came in, and today, it wasn't good news that East Africa had lost one of the strongest gallant sons of the land. We got a communication from the vice president, who happens to be still part of the same party of where actually Magufuli was. She spoke out in the early hours, and of course, she declared to the whole world that East Africa had lost the Tanzanian president. I would like to take a look at this particular video of her message. Then when we get back, we'll give you details in relationship to the late.
Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli ambaye amefariki kwa maradhi ya moyo katika hospitali ya Mzena jijini Dar es Salaam alipokuwa akipatiwa matibabu. Mheshimiwa Rais Magufuli alilazwa tarehe 6 Machi mwaka huu katika taasisi ya moyo ya Jakaya Kikwete kwa tatizo la mfumo wa umeme. Tatizo la moyo la mfumo wa umeme ambalo kitaalamu linajulikana kama chronic atrial fibrillation, ambalo alikuwa nalo kwa zaidi ya miaka 10. Aliruhusiwa tarehe 7 Machi mwaka huu na kuendelea na majukumu yake. Tarehe 14 Machi mwaka huu alijisikia vibaya na akakimbizwa hospitali ya Mzena, ambapo aliendelea na matibabu chini ya uangalizi wa madaktari na wauguzi wa taasisi ya moyo ya Jakaya Kikwete hadi umauti ulipomkuta. Mipango ya mazishi inafanywa na mtajulishwa. Nchi yetu itakuwa katika kipindi cha maombolezo kwa siku 14 na bendera zitapepea nusu mlingoti. Bwana ametoa, jina lake lihimidiwe. Asanteni sana.
Of course, that was a video courtesy of Citizen TV. We actually related to pick up what he said, what they had to say, of course, in the early hours of the day. So we'd like to say that to all of you, wherever you are, that has been such a challenging situation. That was a vice president of the government of Tanzania, of course, addressing and telling the whole world what had been done. According to some political analysts from different walks of life, that is in Tanzania, they were saying that this could have happened probably a week ago, but the country was not yet prepared enough to get set for this particular news. So they opted to say, let's just hold on as we prepare the country to avoid taking the country by storm, because death of a political leader is not really something very easy. It comes with a lot. And of course, to all of you who are catching us today, we are discussing the life and the times of John Pombe Magufuli. And of course, we're paying tribute to a son of the land who has done a lot of amazing things, who has done a lot of trademarks, who in 6 years has done something that some presidents are failed to do in 10, 15, 20, 30, 35, 40, and 50 years as leaders in different regimes. Of course, that and all will be coming in the course of the show. And of course, I'll be joined by my usual political analyst, Dasan Al-Sanyamongo, who will actually be taking us through some of the key areas that he has witnessed in the life of John Pombe Magufuli. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta, who happens to be the president of the Republic of Kenya and a friend to Magufuli and a member of the East African community, was quick to call for a press conference in State House, Nairobi, where he poured out his pain and where he described the man whom the African continent and the world has lost.
We have learned with profound sorrow and indeed immense sadness of the untimely passing of my dear brother, His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli, President of the United Republic of Tanzania. On behalf of the government and people of Kenya, I convey our sincere condolences to the First Lady of Tanzania, Her Excellency Janet Magufuli, their children, the entire Magufuli family, and indeed affirm our deep solidarity with the government and people of Tanzania during this challenging time. Tanzania remains in our thoughts and our prayers. Africa and the world has lost an illustrious leader whose vision, passion, and immense leadership propelled the nation of Tanzania forward and also steered the East African community to closer integration. On the continental stage, the late President Magufuli was a champion of Pan-Africanism. In the passing on of President Magufuli, I have lost a friend, a colleague, and a visionary ally, whom I worked closely, particularly on our commitment to forge lasting bonds between Kenya and Tanzania. In honor of the life of His Excellency the late John Pombe Magufuli, and in recognition of his strong legacy, and in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the United Republic of Tanzania, the wider East African community, and the whole of Africa, who are in deep mourning following the loss of an outstanding son of Africa. Therefore, I, Uhuru Kenyatta, under the authority vested in me as the President of the Republic of Kenya, do hereby order and direct that in testimony to the high esteem in which the people of Kenya hold President John Pombe Magufuli, the Republic of Kenya will observe a 7-day period of national mourning, and also that is a symbol of our enduring respect for the fallen president, as well as our solemn solidarity with the people and the nation of the United Republic of Tanzania. The flag of the East African Community and the flag of the Republic of Kenya shall be flown at half-mast at all public buildings and public grounds and wherever else throughout the entire territory of the Republic of Kenya, and at all Kenya's diplomatic missions abroad from today, Thursday, the 18th of March, 2021, until sunset on the day of the funeral. May the soul of President John Pombe Magufuli rest in eternal peace. Kwa niaba ya serikali na wananchi wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, ningependa kurudia yale nimesema, kutoa rambirambi zetu kwa Mama Janet Magufuli, watoto wake, jamii nzima ya marehemu hayati John Pombe Magufuli, na kwa Watanzania wote kwa kuaga kwa rafiki yetu, mpendwa wetu, Rais John Pombe Magufuli. Nakumbuka kidhati mara nyingi ambapo tumeweza kukutana na kuongea kuhusu maendeleo ya nchi zetu mbili. Nakumbuka haswa safari yake ya kirasmi ambapo alitutembelea hapa Kenya, na pamoja na yeye tukafungua barabara ambaye tunaita Southern Bypass, na pia kwangu mimi binafsi akanipatia heshima kubwa sana kwa kusisitiza ya kwamba lazima atembelee mamangu Mama Ngina Kenyatta, na akachukua fursa kwenda kumtembelea nyumbani na kutoa heshima zake kwake. Na pia mimi akanialika nimtembelee kwake nyumbani kule Chato, na pia nikapata nafasi ya kumsalimia mamake na kuongea naye. Tukalala kwake nyumbani na tukaongea mengi kuhusu nchi zetu mbili na pia uhusiano wetu kama wanachama wa Afrika Mashariki. Nimempoteza rafiki, nimempoteza kiongozi mwenzangu, na nchi ya Kenya
That is the president of Kenya, that's none other than Uhuru Kenyatta, of course, speaking out and pouring his heartfelt condolences to the people of Tanzania, and more so to the lady herself, who happens to be now the widow to the late Magufuli, that is Janet Magufuli. A lot of pain from across different people who believed that Magufuli was a Pan-Africanist. And this has not, of course, gone well with all those who believed that he represented the new breed of leaders that Africa has been yearning for. He represented the spirit of the likes of Patrice Lumumba. He represented the spirit of the likes of Julius Nyerere. He represented the spirit of the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, and so many more other leaders that wished Africa to be such a better continent. But also we should not forget the fact that to the side of those who wished actually Africa to stay what it is, there are a lot of jubilations from different angles. We even saw other international media houses coming out to say the president who actually was against believing in the mechanisms for corona has passed on. Statements that actually are derogative and of course degrading to the man who stood for what he believed in, a man who stood for what he fought for, a man who believed that Africa can be a better continent again. Still now on this related note, very many of you could be wondering that who is Magufuli? I know some of you could be knowing him just from the outside, but Magufuli, commonly known as John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, was born on 29th of October, yes, in the year of 1959, and died on 17th March 2021. That's the man we are discussing and talking about. He was a Tanzanian politician who served as the 5th president of Tanzania. Yes, for most of you who could have followed this Tanzanian history, you can concur with me that he was president of Tanzania from 2015 until his death this time in 2021. He served as a Minister of Works and Transport and Communications from 2000 to 2005. And 2010-2015, he was the chairman of the Southern African Development Community from 2019 to 2020. First elected as a member of parliament in 1995, he served in the cabinet of Tanzania as the deputy minister of works from 1995 to 2000. Then he turned in to be a minister of works from 2000 to 2005, and he moved and changed the docket from where he was as a minister of works to minister of lands and human settlement from 2006 to 2008. Then he kept growing in his profile until he found himself in different ministries, where again he served as a Minister of Livestock and Fisheries from 2008 to 2010, and as Minister of Works for a second time from 2010 to 2015. That is the man we are celebrating his life today. Running as a candidate for Chama Mapinduzi, yes, that's one of the major parties in Tanzania. Most of them abbreviate it as CCM. The country's dominant party, Magufuli won the October 2015 presidential election and was sworn in on 5th of November 2015. He was re-elected in 2020. He ran on a platform of reducing government corruption and spending, as very many of you may see in African countries, while also investing in Tanzania's industries, but was accused of having what we call an autocratic tendencies, as seen in his restrictions and, of course, freedom of speech and crackdown on members of opposition political parties. I think there's a lot to learn about this particular gentleman in relationship to his move to make Tanzania a dream country that he wanted it to be. Let's take a look at Magufuli's education. I know many of you could have just heard that some people went into power without even going to school. Someone just wakes up and actually fights his way through and he becomes president. We cannot forget the fact that Uganda one time had a president in the names of Idi Amin Dada, who ruled Uganda, but it's believed that he stopped in P3. Now let's look at the education background of John Pombe Magufuli. John Magufuli started his education at Chato Primary School from 1967 to 1974 and went on to Katoke Seminary, yes, from where he sat for his secondary education from 1975 to 1977 before relocating to Lake Secondary School in 1977 and graduating in 1978. He joined Mkwa High School for his advanced level of education, that is in 1979. Remember, in 1979, that's a time in Uganda where the then president Idi Amin Dada was overthrown, and graduated in 1981. The same year that actually he graduated, he joined Mkwa College of Education, a constituent college of the University of Dar es Salaam, for a diploma in education, majoring in science, and of course, particularly in chemistry, mathematics, and education. Magufuli earned his Bachelor's of Science in Education degree, majoring in chemistry and mathematics as a teaching subject from the University of Dar es Salaam. That was in 1988. That just sends you a sign that he was a leader who had opted to go far through the normal process of education and get a paper so that you lead what you know. I believe that will not be surprising when you look at the achievements as we will be sharing in the course of the show. He also earned his master's and doctorate degrees in chemistry from the University of Dar es Salaam in 1994 and 2009 respectively. In late 2019, he was awarded the honorary doctorate by the University of Dodoma for improving the economy of Tanzania as a country. Now, let's look at his early life. Who is Magufuli? Is it this kid who grew up, for example, maybe in London, who actually grew up maybe from the UK? Is it this kid who grew up from somewhere else and maybe he worked outside for all his years and he was just actually brought in to contest as president or as an MP within their country? Let's look at his early life. Magufuli ventured into elective politics after a short period as a teacher at Sengerema Secondary School between 1982 and 1983. He taught chemistry and mathematics. You know what that means? Very many of you did for sciences. He was actually a chemistry and mathematics teacher. Later on, he quit his teaching job and was employed by Nyanza Cooperative Union Limited as an industrial chemist. He remained there from 1989 to 1995 when he was elected as a member of parliament representing Chato District. He was later appointed a deputy minister for works in his first term as an MP. He retained this seat in the 2000 elections and was promoted to a full ministerial position under the same docket. After President Jakaya Kikwete was requested to take over office, he moved John Joseph Pombe Magufuli to the post of Minister of Lands and Human Settlement on 4th of January 2006. Subsequently, he served as a Minister of Livestock and Fisheries from 2008 to 2010 and again as a Minister of Works from 2010 to 2015. That is the presidential material, the man we are talking about. A man who taught. After teaching, he went into elective politics. In elective politics, he grew in ranks. He never just jumped in to become president. He grew in ranks and he studied how the public service system works. Remember that the highest levels of corruption across the whole world have been because most of the people coming into power have not understood how the systems work. They just jump in. But for him, he took time in different dockets before actually declaring himself as a rightful candidate for what we would term as Tanzania's topmost job. Now, his presidential bid in 2015, before he became president, and he was moved through being president to where he is today. Magufuli was nominated as CCM's presidential candidate for the 2015 elections after winning a majority vote in the final round of the primary elections over two opponents that included the Justice Minister and the former United Nations Deputy General Secretary Asha Rose Migiro and the African Union Ambassador to the United States of America, Amina Salim Ali. Although Magufuli faced a strong challenge from opposition candidate, who was actually a former CCM political party member, Edward Lowassa, in the elections held on 25th of October 2015. Magufuli was declared a winner by the National Electoral Commission on 29th of October, having scored 58% of the general national vote. His running mate, Samia Suluhu, was also declared as a vice president. He was sworn in on 5th of November 2015 as the new president of the Tanzanian Republic for his first term. Magufuli was elected on a program to regain economic sovereignty and the face of the international financial institutions, according to some of the political analysts across Tanzania. That is the man himself, JPM, John Pombe Magufuli, whom we as a continent and the world at large are celebrating his life today. Now, he returned for his second term. Remember, in Tanzania, the issue of term limits has been firm, and they have actually built their country based on ideology. I've had many countries talking about ideology, but you realize that the ideologies that they've actually sung again and again have not been reflected in their electioneering game plan and in every year that they return to lead the country. We've seen it in different countries. We've seen Sudan try ideology, but the ideology that they have has failed to work. They've always struggled. Now here, in 2020 presidential elections, that is at the start of July 2020, Magufuli was again nominated as the CCM's presidential candidate in elections scheduled for October 2020. His nomination was not opposed after expulsion of the party, one of the party members who earlier on, of course, in the course of the year, was among those who were battling and, of course, opposing him. And that's none other than Bernard Membe, a former foreign affairs minister who had planned to challenge him during nominations. He received the highest votes and was therefore re-elected to extend his term until 2025 for the second term. That's the term that we're talking about today, where he is. According to some international media houses, that I wouldn't maybe opt to talk about in this televised delivery. The election was marred by allegations of arrests of candidates, protesters, restrictions on agents, and of course other political parties to access polling stations, multiple voting, pre-taking of ballots, and a widespread blocking of social media, something that was synonymously seen across the whole of Africa. A local election watchdog, of course, also noted heavy deployment of the military and police whose conduct created a climate of atmosphere. Now, that one, I would say it's not new to the African continent. It's actually something that has happened almost in most parts of Africa, but we will not use that to quash all the great things that John Pombe Magufuli has done for his country, for East Africa, and Africa as a whole. Now, back to his presidency, because when we talk about his reign as a leader, he has so far served for 6 years. And remember that his second term had just begun and he was on a walk to drive it to 2025. After taking office, Magufuli immediately began to impose measures to curb what we call government spending, such as barring unnecessary foreign travel by government officials, using cheaper vehicles and boardrooms for transport, and of course also cutting on the meetings respectively in bid to narrow down the expenditure. Shrinking the delegation of those who tour the Commonwealth from 50 to 4 people. Just imagine that. That country has been having a delegation of 50 people who go and spend the lavish life, sleep in good hotels, and cost the Wananchi a lot of money in the taxes. He said, no. What would all the 50 people go to do there? That's luxury. He cut the number from 50 to 4. He also moved ahead to dropping what would be called as a sponsorship of the World AIDS Day exhibition in favor of purchasing medicine, and of course also discouraging what we call the lavish public events, such as cutting the budget for the dinner of his own inauguration. So this is what he did. He moved ahead to to stop the celebration of the so-called World AIDS Day, and he said, can we take that money and buy medicine? And it happened. And he moved ahead to cut what we call the lavish expenditures. And he said, can we move a mile and make sure that instead of actually putting a lot of money, yes, from what we call the big money that you put in an event in $1 billion or $1 million, why don't you actually convert that money into something else? We just do a cleanup or something else. So he rejected having an inauguration ceremony that we've seen other presidents having with a lot of planes. He said, no, can we cut that? Magufuli reduced his own salary from $15,000 to $4,000 per month. That is the Magufuli, the man we're talking about. Then Magufuli also suspended the country's Independence Day festivities for 2015 in favor of a national cleanup campaign to
official sponsor of the UEFA Champions League. Pepsi, for the love of it.
Wait. tewabawo omuntu n'omu akulemesa kumalawo kikyo y'ensonga lwaki MTN ekuwa data banda ataggwako. Teekako data wa MTN Freedom Bundle ng'okozesa My MTN app olw'onyumirwa eddembe okozesa data wo mu bujjuvu.
MTN.
The government of Uganda prioritized use of mosquito nets as one of the strategies to protect Ugandans against malaria. Under the ongoing mosquito net distribution campaign, residents in the following districts will receive mosquito nets between 20th March to 24th March 2021. Buyikwe, Buyende, Iganga, Jinja, Kagadi, Kaliro, Kayunga, Chibale, Chegegwa, Mayuge, Mukono, and Uka. Please register and receive your mosquito net from the VHTs when they come to your home. All households will get at least a mosquito net. Chase malaria out of your home. Sleep under a mosquito net every night. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, eno ye 97.7 Record FM tusabula hits all day. Wakati mutima gwa Kampala with the best shows nga tutandika ne UG Breakfast Show akawuwo okuva ku 12 mpaka sawa nyezo okumacha The Hit Club omubezi sawa nnyo mpaka mwendezi obutundu The Big Evening ababa sawa mwenda mpaka emu yakawungeze The Hot 7 at 7 Countdown mwetubulira ennyimba esinga okuwuja The Hottest and the Biggest Songs weno ku 97.7 ate The Love What Heart omukwano mu mbewo etandika sawa 2 mpaka 7 ogw'ekiro late night kusoba obuwumi wa radio esengekeddwa 97.7 Record FM tusabula hits all day. Don't miss on Record TV.
Abalungi aba Record TV twongera obategeeza nti buli Monday mpaka Friday essaawa zibera 9 mpaka essaawa 10 pozi ng'ogasseko n'olunaku olw'Essande essaawa emu ey'akawungezi tubeera tulaba King David omusajja enjasabiggu omusajja omulwanyi namige omusajja yayiibwako amafuta okuva eri Mukama Katonda omusajja eyatta Goliathi ng'akozesezza jinja gwe tulaba buli lunaku Monday to Friday n'olw'Essande essaawa mbagambe essaawa 9 wabula olw'Essande essaawa ebeeremu.
Don't miss King David on Record TV.
Yes, welcome back from the break, and we're glad that you're still watching UG Pulse. My name is Isaac Oluputekonya, and I would like to say thank you so much for being part of the big UG Pulse family. And of course, to those who began with us early, thank you so much for making it a date every day, Monday to Friday, not to miss to watch your favorite political show, and a show that, of course, that discusses Uganda's politics and also the politics of our neighboring countries that affect Uganda's politics. I would like still to reiterate and say that today we are celebrating and we are joining the Tanzanian community, our Tanzanian brothers and sisters, to celebrate a life of one of the parents, one of the godfathers, one of the God-sent leaders, and that is none other than John Pombe Magufuli, the man whom many of you have just been knowing for his, I would say, ruthless approach to corruption, man of his word, a man who orders, and maybe you have not taken time to read much about him as an individual and his whole life, right from the time when he grew up, and of course moved a mile to where he is today. Now, I remember earlier on, actually, I was sharing with and I was saying that John Pombe Magufuli suspended the country's independence festivities for 2015 in favor of what you would term as a national cleanup campaign to reduce what we call the spread of cholera in his own country. How many leaders would actually opt to do that? Ask yourself, you're actually from a certain country. You could be watching us all the way from Abu Dhabi. You could be watching us from Congo. You could be watching us from Madagascar. You could be watching us from Ghana. Those who are watching us from Equatorial Guinea. Look through yourself. Do a self-scan for your country. How many of your leaders would say, okay, we are cancelling this Independence Day. We are cancelling this political party celebration in bid to commit ourselves into putting money to a cause that will benefit the local man whom would lose due to such related instances that you've witnessed, of course, across different media platforms. Magufuli personally participated in efforts to clean up efforts. He was actually there by himself, involved in everything, having stated that it was not shameful. It was so shameful that we were spending a huge amount of money on what we call celebrating their 54th year's anniversary, when actually there are people who are busy perishing and dying. So he was a man with a big heart, a man who came in with a focus and a target to change his country. The cost savings, of course, were to be invested towards improving hospitals and sanitation in the country. And still on a related note, on 10th of December 2015, more than a month after taking over office, Magufuli announced his cabinet. I repeat, on the 10th of December, the same year, the man announced his cabinet. But can I do something shocking? For most of you might say, but Magufuli, so what? Maybe he's just a wiseacre. Magufuli announced his cabinet, but in announcing his cabinet, its size was reduced from 30 ministers to 19 ministers to help reduce the costs. I will repeat that the man you're seeing at the screen of your television, after just a month after being sworn in, actually, after being brought in as president and after being sworn in, decided to announce his cabinet. But the most surprising thing is the fact that on announcing his cabinet, he had reduced his team from 30 ministers that they used to have before to 19 ministers. On April 12th, that is 2016, Magufuli conducted his first foreign visit to Rwanda, where he met his Rwanda counterpart, Paul Kagame, and inaugurated the new bridge and the one-stop border post at Ruzumo. Magufuli also attended the memorial of the 22nd, yes, most of you know, anniversary of the Rwandan genocide. That is in relationship to that genocide of those earlier years that actually we've been celebrating almost every year. Yes, you know, very many people died, and of course, Africa has never forgotten about that. So that was his first trip. First trip was to Rwanda, and he joined his counterpart to celebrate that. Now, still looking at the life of the man we are seeing, we want actually to handle almost each and every area where he touched during his time. In July 2016, the Tanzanian president banned what we call shisha smoking, with Magufuli citing its health effects among the youth as the reason why he was banning it. He was among the first guys to come out as other countries were loitering, but now business, you people business, he said, I am banning it and we are not negotiating. It's affecting the young people. People are actually moving like the smoky kitchens. Every time they're burning themselves, ooh, smoke everywhere. And of course, this is causing a lot of lung cancer, of course, unto them. So he never thought of the business part of it. He thought about the other side of saving his country from that particular angle. In March 2017, of course, he also moved ahead to ban the export of unprocessed ores in effort to encourage domestic smelting. In January 2018, Magufuli issued a directive ordering the suspension of registration of foreign merchant ships following the recent incidents surrounding the seizure of overseas shipments of illegal goods, particularly drugs and weapons being transported under the flag in which Tanzania and Zanzibar, of course, had gained reputations from being flags of convenience. In the same year, he introduced free education for all government schools in 2016. I would keep saying Magufuli walked and fought a good fight, moving from country to country. Within Africa, you can do your analysis and see how many people would do that in 6 years and cause a change. Now, we're first of all discussing almost what he did within 1 year, but of course, there was a ripple effect unto the rest of the years. That's the man we're celebrating, John Pombe Magufuli. Now, within the same season, there's something that he touched about infrastructure. You know, infrastructure is the backbone of the development of every economy, of course, across the whole world. When you have good infrastructure, you hear the government of Uganda talk about infrastructure, the president talk about infrastructure. It's because when you have a good road, maybe let me just educate someone out there. When you have a good road, you're in position to grow your crops. And I am in position to drive from Kampala to your village because there's a good road to buy that maize that you have. At the end of the day, you can get money to pay school fees or to buy uniform for your kid, and you can be in position to take your kid to a better hospital. You can be in position also to actually make your wife look beautiful, build at least a modest home, and of course, keep moving forward and contribute towards the development of the country. Now, Magufuli did something on infrastructure. Magufuli's government worked on various infrastructure projects targeting economic development. Projects included the addition of the half-dozen Air Tanzania planes as a way of reviving the national carrier. Uganda recently has been actually reviving what we call the Uganda Airlines. When he came into power, he said, we must make Tanzania, Air Tanzania, actually more powerful and more vibrant in the region. The expansion of the Terminal 3 of Julius Nyerere International Airport. We have seen Uganda, actually in the recent years, wake up to work on what we call the Uganda Airlines, revive it. And now we are seeing Uganda extending the airport. This man came in with a mission, and he wasn't joking. He never wanted very many years. He went in knowing what he wanted to put right. That is a man that you're seeing on the screen of your television that we are celebrating. I am not talking this because I would love, maybe I'm so much in love with him, but I'm sharing this, and you can actually guess and go ahead to actually do your own research and confirm what he has done before based on the realities on ground in Tanzania. Now, away from actually doing the extension of the Tanzanian airport, he moved ahead to have what we call the construction of the Tanzanian standard gauge railway. It's one of the things that has been actually added to the names of the smiley but very tough, I would say smiley, but very tough leader. Yes, the same gentleman, of course, moved ahead to work on what we call the Mfungale, yes, flyover, Julius Nyerere hydropower station, Ubungo interchange, and of course not forgetting the new Selenda bridge. Most of you could have actually watched it. It was one of the most vibrant things that actually went across different walks of life. He also moved ahead, of course, to do what we call the Kigongo Busisi bridge, Huduma Bora Zafia, Vituo Bora Zafia, expansion of the port of Dar es Salaam, Dodoma bus terminal, a lot of projects, of course, that he did in his own wish to see that the ideology of the CCM party moved forward. Magufuli received the nickname the bulldozer in reference to his roadworks projects, but also for what he did in his term of office in a move to reduce spending and corruption within the government. Now, on a related note, following Magufuli's initial rounds of cuts and the post-inauguration, as many of you could be knowing, the whole country and the whole world adopted something new that in the hashtagging, they adopted the hashtag, what would Magufuli do? It's from him cutting his own inauguration fee. And he said, no, we cannot have such a fake budget and we spend. It made actually everyone rise up to say, what will Magufuli do? And that became a viral hashtag across Twitter and Facebook. Now, I want to just summarize something, and I hit in what we call his reaction to the LGBT community, his intimidation and abuses. Yes, people convicted of same-sex liaisons in Tanzania can be jailed for up to 30 years. It was during his time of office. He said up to 30 years. They get you actually engaging in what we call sexual intercourse when you're same-sex. 30 years in jail. 30 years in jail. He made a decree as a president, and there was no joke. Now, in October 2016, the Tanzanian government banned HIV/AIDS outreach projects that were done by the governments of the United States and other related partners. They came out to ban that. They said, no, we do not want, especially for those that were giving HIV drugs and support to what we call the LGBT community. Magufuli came out to say no to this, not in my government. So the range of things actually that he did that I believe we will be sharing in the course of our discussion as we keep moving. So I would like to say that to all those who have been following us, Magufuli is gone, and may his soul rest in eternal peace. Today I'm joined in the studios by Sanya Mango, who happens to be a political analyst, a man who has seen and studied the East African history, and I believe he's one of the Pan-Africanists, and he knows much about what has transpired. Magufuli's death, what does this mean to the East African community?
A big blow to the social transformation of socialism, where we would see people coming together to speak and protect the interests of their states, with a view and putting in the mind that the people they lead make them who they are. And for every leader who stands up, you are there to serve the people but not serve your own interest. That is why you are bringing up all those things that even touched on him. Today in Uganda, most of our guys, most of the supplementary budgets go to State House under the disguise of special money. There is a way they term it, and you really classified expenditure, and it goes there. So this is what we are talking about. That's the leader we are talking about.
6 years of Magufuli being president. How would you compare him to other political leaders, not just in East Africa, but in the whole continent of Africa?
He's one of the best leaders who came up to see that. If we are talking, someone's talking about the social transformation of Africa, then every leader, most of the leaders in Africa, would go and pay visit to Tanzania on what they have done. Infrastructure development is key in the transformation of every nation. Secondly, if you look at empowering the community to empower themselves to be in a position in terms of education, good health, you are also now building a new nation that is going to catch up with the rest of the world. This is what Magufuli was standing for. And that is it. He has said it. He has set a legacy. So the lady who is coming in must follow the footpath.
Very many of the people from different parts of the world, not necessarily Tanzania, dubbed him a dictator. I have seen in very many international blogs in Europe, they're saying that African dictator. Would you call him a dictator?
No, you can't call Magufuli a dictator. It is only that every outside country or every nation has its own interests. The moment you deviate from the interests of these other players within the game, then you can be dubbed to be a dictator or whatever, because you don't consent with what you say. But there are areas or circumstances where it is open that you're a dictator. People are having, it is provided in the constitution, they are demonstrating peacefully, you get them up. You put there an election, you bar others from going where they are supposed to go, you cramp up new charges against them. All that can amount to where there is no democracy. Freedom of speech is counted, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you can be seen as a dictator.
So Magufuli to you is not a dictator. Now, Magufuli in 2020 rose up and it became a household name across the whole world in relationship to coronavirus. That thing saw a mixed reaction across the whole world, and he kept telling people he cannot close borders, something that he stood for, defended, and he never closed borders. By the time it was done, it's believed that John Pombe Magufuli had already been declared to be having Tanzania already in middle income status ahead of very many African countries. But the international community still criticized his approach to what we call Corona, where he said, we need God. Corona is a demon, and a demon cannot live in the blood of Jesus Christ. So we need the blood of Jesus Christ. What is your relationship to his approach? Economy versus a pandemic.
One thing that Magufuli and his team, there are some things that I believe Magufuli was doing, but he was with a team. Like the President Museveni has always had a team. Corona is one of the economic struck. You come with a whip to hit on some area. So one of the things that is going to retard the social transformation or the growth of economies of these other countries is Corona. So when Magufuli perceived it in that way, that this is one tool to see that the Bazungus and whatever crippling the economy of the African countries and other economies in the Europe and whatever. So they had to come up and say that no, we can live without, without closing our borders. Let's do the necessary. Let's hand wash.
Steam.
Hey, steam, do this, and so on. Take herbs. What are they saying? To take herbs takes. They are saying wash your hands, put on a mask, and so on. But we're not going to close the borders.
Okay, I would like to say that all of you are catching us. We're discussing and celebrating the life and the times of John Pombe Magufuli, the president of the Republic of Tanzania, whom the Lord has called and has gone to be with the Lord. I would like us to take a look at a few tweets and condolence messages from different key political figures of Uganda. We have actually sent the condolence messages to the family of John Pombe Magufuli, to the East African community, and not forgetting, of course, to Janet herself, Janet Magufuli. And of course, for starters, we have a message from the ANC party president, that is none other than Mugisha Muntu. And Mugisha Muntu says, it's a sad and a dark day for East Africa. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers go out to our Tanzanian sisters and brothers and the late president's family. Rest well, His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli. That is a message coming from the ANC president and founder. That is none other than Mugisha Muntu Oyera. Yes, he was among the first guys to come to communicate what he felt, and of course his heartfelt condolences to the Republic of Tanzania. We also got a message, of course, coming in from Joel Senyonyi. Yes, from Joel Senyonyi. And of course, Joel Senyonyi comes in to say, eventually, we all return to our Maker. Let's live knowing we are mortal, and that one day we shall be no more. The legacy we leave behind, especially as leaders, is important. So let's serve our countries diligently and treat people right, because one day we shall be no more. Goodbye, Magufuli. That was a message, of course, coming in from the People Power spokesperson, and that is none other than Joel Senyonyi.
It is sarcastic.
Yes, it's tricky.
It is sarcastic.
It speaks volumes when you dig into
when you read it.
Yes. We also have another message coming from Asha Komugisha. And of course, Asha Komugisha says, Samia Suluhu Hassan will be sworn in as Tanzania's president and will lead for the remainder of Magufuli's term until 2025.
That is a feminist.
Yes, he had just been re-elected in November last year. She becomes the first female president in Tanzania and in East Africa. Feminist,
yeah.
Feminist,
yeah.
Feminist.
Yeah.
So you understand what it means. A lot of messages, of course, flocking, of course, Twitter under the hashtag Rest in Peace Magufuli. And we're having here Matthias Semanda, of course, also coming in to say, it's evident that Tanzania's democracy trajectory has been tested and absolutely firm. It's evident that Tanzania's democracy trajectory has been tested and it's absolutely firm. By Africa's standards, it's a miracle to see a constitution followed to the dot in such a power transition emergency. Welcome aboard, President Samia Suluhu Hassan. Yes, people are also celebrating, of course, the fact that he has died, but the lady is coming in.
Isaac, that sends a message to our leaders here that who are going to appoint their vice presidents. You must have that in case something happens, the person I've appointed as a vice president can take up the mantle.
Not only just choosing because you want to fill in the position.
You don't because you want to fill in the region. You want to fill in someone from one from a religion or a tribe that you just want. No.
I saw someone trying to mock our vice president secondly. He posted one of his photos on his Twitter, then he said, "So when something like that happens, this is our next president." And I was like, this is so sad.
No, people, Uganda now, Uganda people are just coming up with their vice president. Do you know, even I was on the street today and people are saying Magufuli say and for someone else should have died. The people are pouring out a lot of words outside.
I saw someone say Uganda's prayer was answered in Tanzania. That's so bad.
It was so bad.
Let me go to our last messages, and of course we have here a message from Norbert Mao, who happens to be the DP president. He says, "The bird said it's best." That is Norbert Mao, and he comes in to say, "The devil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with the bones. Let no virus define a leader who boosted the economy, multiplied the infrastructure, 100-fold and tackled wasteful spending. The president is dead. Long live Magufuli. I would say a lot of messages. Maybe let me just conclude with, we have from Munyango Bo, we have a message from Frank Tumwebaze, we have a message from Bob Wine, we have a message from, okay, I would just love to read out Bob Wine's message, of course, as we summarize. From Bob Wine, who happens to be the NUP presidential candidate. He says, my heartfelt condolences to the people of the United Republic of Tanzania on losing President John Pombe Magufuli. Eternal repose. I'd like to say that all of you have been part of it. Thank you so much for being part of today's celebratory UG Pulse, as we move to celebrate the life and the times of John Pombe Magufuli. From us and the crew that is in the studios, we would like to say thank you for celebrating the life, and we wish you a blessed afternoon ahead.
Up next on Record TV, King David.